What is going on, guys? It is Jono, and today what we're going to be talking about is how you can automatically web scrape viral tweets online and then retweet that to Twitter, or you can take that information, use AI to create your own images and captions. Let's take a look at what this looks like. So in front of me, I have a retweet from a viral post, right, that I automatically push to my account. That's going to increase my visibility. But if you want to take it a step further, what you can do is take that exact same post and then using artificial intelligence, generate the caption and the images to go along with it and post it automatically. What we're doing to build this out is using a make.com workflow. And today we're going to be building this. We're going to be starting at the very beginning and going all the way to the very end, step by step. Now, if you guys like this workflow and you want to download it, it's going to be free in the description down below. All you have to do is copy it and then in make.com, hit these three dots down below for more, and then import the blueprint into make.com and you're good to go. But with that being said, I highly recommend actually watching the whole video because there's going to be a lot of concepts we go through that you need to learn in order for this scenario to actually work. And if you don't do it, it's going to actually take you a lot more time just to try and figure out how to setting it up by scraping through different forms online when all the content that you need is going to be in this video. So let's dive in, guys. And also, if you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button because I'll be making content just like this pretty much every single day. So thank you in advance for that. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with make.com. We're going to create a new scenario. We're going to be rebuilding this from the ground up, all the way from the beginning to the end, walk through every single example. So I'm going to call this Twitter reposter. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with the initial point of entry, which is the trigger. So how are we going to start this workflow? Well, there's a couple of ways we could do it, right? And it really depends on how you want to proceed, right? What we could do is we could either start by scraping viral tweets, or we could do an RSS feed. So for example, what I'm going to proceed with in this tutorial is web scraping. So we're going to use something called Apify, and we're going to run an actor. And this is going to scrape Twitter for viral content, right? But if you wanted to as well, you could also create another module down here, and you could do an RSS feed, right? And you could you could watch an RSS feed and then retrieve results in real time. So for example, if we go to CNN RSS feed here and we go into their website, it's going to give us a list of multiple different channels that we can pull content from. So if we go down to personal finance and click this XML map here, this is going to be all of their most recent articles. So all we have to do is just copy this and then come back into make.com. And we can simply just paste the URL here, maybe max results of 50, click OK. And then what we're going to do is we're going to run from all RSS feed items. Likely what you're going to want to do is from now on, but just for the example, just for testing purposes, we're going to do all RSS feeds and we're going to run it. You'll notice that we ran into an error because we need to bring the trigger down to the RSS feed. We'll start running here and we can generate 50 different articles that we could potentially create a tweet about, right? So this is just one example. You can see it limited itself at 20 because there was only 20 articles in this feed here. So just keep that in mind as well. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to Apify to work with the rest of this workflow. Now, if you do want to do the RSS feed, you can certainly go ahead and do that. Maybe you do both, right? One for web scraping, one for RSS feeds. So we're going to use a platform called Apify to do this. Apify is a web scraping platform, so you can essentially scrape any single website out there. If you just go onto their site, you browse existing tools, you're going to be able to see just so many different examples, right? You can web scrape Google Maps, TikTok, Instagram, of course, Twitter as well, and Apollo. This is great for generating leads, by the way. So there's a lot of different stuff, but we're going to log into the console on apify.com, and we're going to get started with scraping Twitter. So what we'll do is we'll head over to the store here, right? And by the way, this is free to use. You can see down here, you have $5 of free usage every single month. This is a lot. It doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're web scraping, it's quite a few results, right? So this is going to get you pretty far already. I'm just going to log into my business account here and go into store. And then we're going to type in Twitter here. And we're going to use this first one, Tweet Scraper version 2. So I'll reset the default settings here, but essentially, this is what you're going to be prefaced with. There's a million, well, maybe not a million, but like 5 here and a couple other examples down below on how you can kind of scrape Twitter to meet your needs, right? You can scrape a particular profile. You can scrape statuses of that profile. You can scrape the search feed for a particular keyword like Apify. You can scrape lists, right? So some people will create lists on, let's say, digital marketing, right? And you can scrape a list on the post there, or you can scrape a feed where somebody replies to specific tweets as well. We're just going to delete all of these, and we're going to start with scraping a list here. So if I just copy and paste this in here, it's just going to scrape digital marketing, the digital marketing list here. If you type into the browser up top here, you can just copy this URL and pop it back in here, and we're good to go. I'm going to remove all of these because I don't want to filter or limit it too much for right now. What we want to do is also use make.com to limit this as well. So for maximum charged results, I'm just going to do 100 for now, especially in the testing phase, because if you set this too high, you're going to burn through money pretty quickly here. So this is more of like a fail safe. And I'm also going to set the maximum results to 100 so that when we run this, it's not going to give us more than 100 results for now. And then we can go into filtering, right? So filter, I want to make sure everything's English, first of all. And I also want to make sure that I'm going to leave these unchecked, right? So you could only scrape for verified users or Twitter Blue or images only, videos, quotes, all that kind of stuff. But I'm just going to leave it open for now. And one of the best things you can do when it comes to web scraping or just marketing in general is split testing, right? Maybe you get better results if you only go with verified users. Maybe you don't, but until you try, you won't know. So that's just a good split test to run there. And we're going to remove all of these that we don't want, but you can filter based on authors and who they replied to and who they mentioned and locations and all that kind of stuff. What I do want to do here is make sure that we have a minimum retweets of 10, minimum favorites of 10, and minimum replies of 10. And we'll just X off the dates here, and we're going to save this module. What you probably want to do is just start it, right? And when you start it, it's going to be saved into your actors save tasks here, which is great because once it's saved in there, what we can do is we can come back and we can access it straight through the actors here. So I'm going to type in the exact scraper that we're looking for, which is the tweet scraper. If you map this, you can see the ID here, which is cool because if we come back in here, we can see that the ID that we just highlighted is the same one here as well. So I'll just show that again. And then we want to make sure it runs synchronously. The reason why is because if, let's say there's 2 modules that can't connect this, but if there was, it's going to complete this before it moves on to the next. If it was asynchronous, what would happen is that these would happen at this exact same time. So it would start this, and before this completes, it would move on to the next. Obviously, that's not a good idea because the next kind of modules will depend on the answers that we find from this web scrape. So that seems good to me. I'm just going to finish this off by entering in input JSON. We can leave build, timeout, and memory the exact same just because these are going to be they're already standard and built in. So we don't necessarily need to touch that. To get the JSON, what we do is we come into Apify and we just click the JSON here, and we're going to copy and paste this back into the JSON. Anytime you guys want to update this in Apify, just make sure that you not only update it here, but you also update it in make.com because the changes you make here are not going to reflect here, right? You have to change both if you want to use it in make.com. Like you have to just make sure that this is always up to date and this is the most recent version because it's going to use this JSON instead of this if you're running it from make. Okay, cool. So we can click OK. And before we run this, what we're going to do is we're going to grab another Apify module here and get the dataset items. Because this is synchronous, it's not going to give us the results right away. It's just going to give us the ID of the data set of all the results we scraped. And then with that ID, we need to look up the results in Apify. So we can enter in the default dataset ID. So you'll just type in here data, bring in the dataset default ID, click OK. And we're going to run this and we're going to see the results that we get here. All right, so I just paused the video there until we got the results. So it did take me about a minute or so to run this, which is fine. But what we want to do is we want to really avoid having to run this every single time, because if you're waiting for this to web scrape the data, it's going to take a minute every single time you test. So what we can do here instead is we can just add another module. We're going to do JSON and parse JSON here, and we need to enter in a string here. What we can do is we're just going to enter in whatever value here just to put a placeholder so we can save it. We'll come into the dataset items. We're going to download the output bundles, okay? And we can copy everything here, and we're going to place it in this JSON string here, and we can click OK. Now we have our test data from those 50 web scrapes. We're going to unlink this, and this is going to be our new starting point here. I'm going to shift over both of these and just move them down here, and then we'll bring the trigger over to this JSON with the 50 test runs we got from Apify here. And now if we run this, and we ignore this warning because it doesn't want the transformer at the end. Usually you shouldn't end with transformers in make.com. We run it, it's gonna give us those 50 bundles again. And we can just run this instantly now, every single time we wanna test this scenario, which is super, super great. Okay, sweet. So we have officially web scraped the results, right? We've got them from apify.com. And now what we want to do with those results is we either want to do one of two things, either retweet that to Twitter, or what we want to do is just recreate that post and we want to push that onto Twitter, right? So we're going to do both in this scenario, but what we're going to start with first is we're going to start with recreating it. So I am going to add another module here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a flow control. And this is going to be a router. So we have two different paths. And the first path up here is going to be generating an image. And the second path down here is going to be creating the tweet, right? And it's important to note that on this first path, we're going to enter in a filter. And what that filter is we only want this to continue, right? We only want to generate the image if an image actually exists. Right? So how we can do that is we come down to the media section here and we just enter this in here. And as long as this has an array length greater than or equal to 1, then it'll pass. So as long as there's an image there, right? As long as this tweet contains an image, this will run. If it doesn't contain an image, well, it's not going to run, right? So that's pretty cool. We'll just go ahead and put that filter on here. Now, one other thing that we want to do before this is we want to make sure that we get the right results, right? Because right now we ran this, we have, let's just take a look, out of the 100, I believe, it returned 75, right? So if you recall, we put a couple filters on this. If we go down to the query wizard here, we said it has to have more than 10 retweets. It also has to have more than 10 favorites, and it also has to have more than 10 replies. But there's got to be a better way to find the right content than just, relying on that basic filter. And it turns out there is. And I think that when it comes to, finding viral content, this is probably the best way that I've done it, is I just break it down to a science. There's typically a couple metrics that I want to calculate. I want to calculate, first of all, what is the like to view ratio? What is the view to follower ratio? What's the retweet to view ratio? All of these things matter, right? So obviously the higher the ratio is, the more likely that tweet could be considered going viral, right? And I just want to preface by saying that there's no right answer here. It will ultimately depend on the niche that you're in. Like if you're doing cats and dog videos, it's going to be way higher engagement than if you're doing like SEO, for example, right? They're two different niches and you have to apply two different sets to the niches, but we're just going to continue with digital marketing here. So the first condition is that we want to take a look and see what the retweet count is versus the views. So what we need to do is we need to enter in the retweet count, which is 42 right here. And then we need to divide that, right? So we'll go into the math operators. We're going to divide this by the total amount of views. And we'll put the views here. And then what we're going to do is times this by 100. And the reason why we're timesing this by 100 is because it's going to give us a percentage. So it's going to give us a percentage out of 100, right? So that's quite nice. And we want to make sure that this is greater than or equal to, and let's just say, I think I actually put the metrics here. I'm just going to copy and paste it in. I'm going to refresh this page here. I may have actually just deleted it. That's a bit unfortunate, but it should be approximately greater than or equal to 1, right? So there should be more than 1% retweets for every single post. Once again, you can change this to your liking. The next thing that we want to do is actually just copy this down, and we want to make sure that the next thing here is likes. So we want to make sure that, you know, there's a certain amount of likes to view ratio. So how we can do that is just swapping out the retweet count to the like count. And I want this to be greater than or equal to 3%. So we'll do that. And then also what we can do here is we can do the view count divided by the follower count, right? So we'll do view count divided by followers of the person. And maybe something that's viral is it has to have over 100% of the follower count. So what this means is, let's say they have a view count, they have a follower count. Where is it? Followers right here, 44,402. They'd have to, for this to be classified as viral, they'd have to have over 44,402 different views on this particular tweet, right? So that's an easy way that you can kind of go about doing this, is just classifying what counts as viral or not. A couple other notable mentions that you may want to put in here are reply count, right? You can put that in here. So reply count versus or comments or whatever versus the view count, or also quote count as well. But I'm just going to leave it with these 3 metrics. And at least doing this, we can save this and run it, and we'll see, did we actually get certain results passing through? So we'll run this through. Okay, so we had 2 tweets out of the 100 that actually classified as going viral. That's pretty cool, right? And that's also good to know, because if you're running 100 results, like a viral, what is the probability of a viral tweet? It might be 1 in 100, right? So this is pretty good. This is pretty accurate. I like this, and we're just gonna keep this for now. Okay, so we have the viral content, and keep in mind, once again, this is just an example of the data from here, so we can run it as many times as we want. Now we're gonna go off, and we're going to, I'm just gonna move these down so they're not in our way here. And we're going to come up and we're going to figure out this image here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use ChatGPT, and we're going to generate an image using ChatGPT. Okay, and the model we're using is DALL-E 3. This is the most up-to-date model. And I'm actually just going to copy over the prompts that I have here just to speed up a bit of the workflow. And I'm going to walk through what this looks like. So it says, you're a social media manager creating an image to post on Twitter. Here's what the article is about. And then we're going to pass in the text here, right? So we know what the content of the tweet is about. And then please recreate an image for this post like this. And we're just going to add in the image of the article here. So let me just go down to, there should be media here somewhere. So there's just a ton of different things here. Okay, sweet. So we're gonna hit this. This is an array containing multiple different media files. There could be 1 image, there could be 20. We just wanna make sure we hit the nested image below that, and it'll have the 1 in there. And we can just put in a 1 here, and then it's going to take the first thing in that array. So the first image in that array, and we'll paste that down here. So don't worry about this. This is normal if it's just like inverted colors of the media. So you're a media manager creating an image to post on Twitter. Here's what the article is about. Okay, sweet. And then we're going to click on advanced settings here. And we're going to go down, and we want the response format to be an image file. So there's 2 ways that we can have a response format here. The first one is that you can just generate a URL for you to use wherever, but we don't want to use a URL. We want to upload an actual file, and we're going to upload that to Twitter. So we'll go ahead and we'll create plus here, and we'll type in Twitter. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add an image here. So we'll click on Twitter, and this is a bit tricky, so just please pay attention to this. There's a version 6 of Twitter, right? So if I just kind of zoom in here, there's a version 6, and there's also a version 5, right? And it's just kind of sneakily laid in the corner there. And And we need to upload an image, but there's no way in version 6 to upload an image, right? So what we have to do is go down back to the legacy Twitter, which is version 5, and then we can upload media here, right? So what's going to happen is you're going to be stuck at this page, right? If you haven't connected in Twitter, which I'm assuming if you have made it this far, you haven't connected your Twitter yet. So you got to add something, right? But you can't just log in with your particular, personal credentials. You have to get an API key, and you also have to get an API secret key, right? So there is this make.com article, and I will post it down below in case you guys want to read it. But essentially what you have to do, and I'm going to walk you through this to the best of my ability, is you have to log into the, oops, that was not intended. Do not scroll up like that, please. Okay, cool. So you have to log into the X developer website here. So you just click that link, and it'll be developer.x.com/English. And then you'll sign up for an account, and you'll go into the developer portal. Okay. Now, once you're in the developer portal and you've signed up for free, then you have to describe your make.com use case, select all checkboxes, and then click, don't slick, but make sure to click submit. And God, that's such a dad joke. Oh my God, I can't believe I just made that. But you're going to want to just enter in your use cases. If you guys want, you can skip doing this by just entering it into ChatGPT, and it's going to give you a good response for you. And then what you're going to do is once you've entered in your use cases, it should automatically approve your project here. And then you're going to select the app, right? And go into user authentication. So you're going to go into products, actually projects and apps. You're going to go down. It should be like this random number right here. And then you have user and authentication settings. So click set, edit here. And you just want to make sure all these permissions are set. So read and write and direct messages, web app, automated app, or bot. And then you want to enter in both of these two URLs for the URI/redirect URL, and also the website URL as well. So once you kind of enter those in, then you're going to be good to go, right? So you'll give it all of this information, click save, and then you'll be able to receive the information that you need for this, right? So when you come back here, you can go down to keys and tokens, I believe, and then you have this API secret key here, and then you can just reveal the secret key or regenerate, and then that will give you the two things that you need to come back in to the API key in the API key secret and add them in there, okay? So that is how you integrate x.com into make.com. It's a bit of a pain, right? It's one of the only platforms that actually makes you go through all the trouble to do that. But once you set it up, then you're good to go. And the link for that article will also be down below in the description. So coming back into make.com, what we're going to do is we're going to upload an image, right? And we're going to have an attachment here. And that attachment is going to be OpenAI ChatGPT. Okay, perfect. So we can click OK here, and we're going to run the scenario once. And you can see there's a couple errors. Sometimes for my account, for whatever reason, I just have to save twice. So we're going to run back in here, and we're going to pass this through, and it's going to upload an image here. And then I'm going to stop after the first run just so we can see what we're working with. This is just going to take a second to have Dolly too. Okay, sweet. So we're done. I'm going to force it to stop. I only want one image. And here we go. We have successfully uploaded the image into x.com, right? That's pretty cool. So the next thing that we want to do is, let's just say we want to dump this data into a Google spreadsheet down here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to add a row. Okay, cool. So we'll go ahead, we'll add a row, and I've actually just already created this whole spreadsheet here. And we need to find this particular spreadsheet. So we'll just go into the URL up here and copy this, this ID in the URL between the document or the d/ and the /edit. We'll come back in here, and we're going to search method, select from all, and we're going to copy and paste the spreadsheet ID. You'll notice it throws an error down here. Oh, it actually didn't this time. Cool. So I guess that's just because I have the right account set up here. And it actually looks like it worked without the right account. Okay, I'm going to switch over anyways because this will throw an error sooner or later. And we're just going to add in all of the information that we want. So coming back into the spreadsheet, here's our headers, right? I'll just kind of drag this down, make it a bit more beautiful here, center it, put it in the middle here, change the background to black, and also change the text to white. And we have a clearly defined header where we can change the view freeze to one row so we can scroll down with this. Now, this is the information we want, right? Type URL, view count, retweet count, reply count, and so on and so forth. What we want to do is we just want to provide those values in this Google spreadsheet. So every single result that we get that's a viral hit, we want to add one new row to this spreadsheet based on the viral hit that we receive. So how we do that is we come back in here and we're going to add in the type. And we're going to map it from this first row. Now remember that only 2 results passed here, right? So there's only going to be 2 things that actually hit this step, and that is going to be the type here. And then we want to have the URL here as well, and then the view count. And then we'll do the retweet count. So we're just going to take all the values that we actually care about. And this is up to taste, guys. If you want to add in other metrics here that you want to count, go ahead and do it. But these are just the ones that I'm going to add into this sample sheet here for you guys. Also, we want to collect certain things about the user as well. So their username, we want to do the user followers as well. And then we want to do the text content of the tweet. And then what we want to do here as well is we're going to do 2 more things. We're going to do, we're going to recreate the text or caption. We're going to do our caption. And then we're going to do image. And we're going to call this scraped text, and then our caption and our image, right? So essentially, we're dumping all of this stuff in here, right? Now, the thing is the natural inclination, and this is super, 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 super important. I might have to say super a couple more times because this is probably, honestly, I should have said this at the very beginning, so I apologize. But the thing is that when you're dealing with web scraping, right, you're dealing with a lot of different data, tons and tons of results, right? Now, there's something called rate limiting, which means that, and pretty much every single online application does this. Like Twitter is not going to want somebody to be able to upload 100,000 or 2 million tweets in like one day, right? It's not possible. They're going to rate limit you or cut you off. They're going to say, hey, you can only upload, let's say 10 tweets every single day. Right? So when you're web scraping 2 million results, you're not going to be able to use all those at the same time. So you have to space it out. And the natural inclination is when you're starting out is maybe that you want to just dump all of that content out, but we actually want to drip this out over time. So there's a couple things that we need to do. So first thing is we need to go to the schedule settings here. And I want to change this to, instead of every 15 minutes, maybe what we do is every day, we do like, I don't know, we do it one time, right? So we'll save that. And the other thing is if we're scraping 100 results, maybe we, and maybe you don't scrape 100, maybe you scrape 100,000, right? But you have like 50 or 100 that pass here. We still need to account for that, right? And we need to make sure that we don't push 100 at the same time to Twitter. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually split this up into 2 workflows. We don't want to just push all of these results immediately into Twitter because that's obviously not going to be good. It's going to get them blocked and that's not good for you. You might get your project shut down here. So what we'll do instead is we're going to add another step here and we're going to generate the AI response so that we have the image and we also have the caption generated. And then we're going to put that into the sheet here. And then what's going to happen is that every single day, just like our daily reminder here, we're going to create another spreadsheet so that it checks every day for new added rows. And when it finds a new added row, then it's going to push that. And maybe you want to do it every 15 minutes or maybe every hour or maybe every day. But you can just use the built-in schedule settings here to find the results at the cadence that you're looking for. So 2 things here. Number 1 is we need to generate this text here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So this time we're going to use create a completion here. And we're going to set the max tokens for 500. And once again, I'm just going to copy in what I created down here on my past one just to save a bit of time. So we're going to have the first model, or we're going to have the model be GPT-4o, and we're going to have quite a few different messages here. The first one is going to be a user message, and we're essentially just going to say, hey, you're a professional social media marketer, and you found a viral tweet that you want to recreate. Please recreate this and make it engaging and snappy. Make sure it's fully ready to publish. And then we'll enter in the text here of this, and we're good with the first thing here. The second thing is we want to add an assistant, which is just providing additional content or context as to how you want this model to respond. Make sure the character count is less than 280 characters. And the last one is if there's any external links in the post, make sure to attach those as well. So if they're linking to like a news article, so let's say you have this RSS feed down here, maybe you want to include that link down below, right? And you can simply do that with OpenAI. Okay, sweet. So we have this, we have the image, and we're going to place that image into the spreadsheet here. Awesome. The problem is we also need to get this image in here, right? We have the caption, but we also have the image. And what we can do to get that image in here is set and get the variables. So one of the most simple automations you can do is just use the tools. And I actually have a full video, guys. If you haven't watched it yet, I have a whole series on make.com where we break down some of these basic tools, which on the surface, they seem basic, but they're so powerful. If you don't know things like tools or inline functions or all of that kind of stuff, you just want to brush up on it. Highly recommend checking out my page and going to that. I'll also probably leave it somewhere up here too for you to take a look at, because this can, like, just the small things can really make the biggest difference when it comes to automation, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to set a variable here, and this is going to be the image URL, and the variable value is going to be this media ID right here. Okay. And we'll just put 1 here as well. So we're just going to take the first image. We're going to set that as a variable. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add another module down here. And this is going to be tools again. And we're going to retrieve that variable that we just set. So we're going to get a variable, and this is going to be image URL, right? And then what we can do is pass that image URL here, right? So we'll come down to column M, and we're going to pass in the image URL here. Okay, so that we can reference that later on to recreate this tweet. We're going to save this. And what's happening is we've generated the image in Twitter. We have the ID of the image that we're going to reference later when we create that tweet. We're passing that variable onto the next path that we can then pass it into the Google spreadsheet here, right? So that when we go into the next workflow and we essentially create a Twitter post every a day or 6 hours or whatever based on adding a new row, it's going to have the ID that it can pull in to match the image and update that image. So that's pretty cool. We're going to run this once, and we're just going to take a look and see how this works. So we have we're just generating everything right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and delete this so that we should have something on row 3 come in here in a couple seconds. As soon as Dolly 3 takes its sweet time. Okay, perfect. There we go. That was actually, I was being way too dramatic there. That was not that long at all. Okay, sweet. So here's our post. We have our image ID down here, and then we also have our link here, right? So this is kind of what we've done so far, which is pretty cool. Maybe we want to go back and we want to change this so that that it doesn't include markdown or anything like that as well. So in this particular model here, when we're creating the caption, what we can say is a system announcement or a system message, and we're just going to say, please don't include HTML or Markdown. Please only use plain text. Okay, click OK, and we can hopefully get rid of that Markdown. Okay, sweet. So this is the first component of what we're building out here, is the first workflow where we're essentially web scraping results. Either we're finding those results with Apify, right? Or we're finding those results with an RSS feed. And then we're just using the parse JSON here as a template, kind of, so to speak, just so that we don't have to run this and wait a minute every time we test out the workflow. We're going to filter the results, right, for anything that's viral. And if it has an image, we're going to filter it and only present the image here, right? And create that image based on AI and upload that into X, and then grab that ID and retrieve that ID here, and then create a caption and pass the caption and pass the image and pass all the other important information into this Google spreadsheet, right? So now we have this spreadsheet with the results, which is pretty cool. Now, what we're going to talk about next is how we can take this result and do two things with it. Number one, how we can create a post using make.com. And number two, how we can retweet it. And please watch both, because both are equally valuable. Maybe you just want to retweet something. Maybe you want to repost it, right? We're going to be covering both. Let's dive into the next step here. So I'm going to save this, open that up in a new tab, and we're going to come back here and create another scenario. So go into scenarios, create a new scenario, and we'll title this Twitter post. And when my computer eventually decides to load, this will be part 2. Okay, cool. And the trigger here is going to be, we're going to be watching for new rows here. So what we're going to change, we're going to watch new rows being added, and the rows with the headers, we're going to keep 1A to Z1. This is just asking us which are the rows that have headers, and that is A1, right, to Z1, okay? So we're just, it's understanding what the sheet looks like, and we're just going to grab one result at a time, and we just need to connect the spreadsheet in. So we're going to search by path and select from all. We're going to go ahead and copy this ID of the spreadsheet in one more time, and come back into our scenario, paste it in. And once it's loaded, I'm just going to connect to the right account here. Spreadsheet name is just the default name. There's only one spreadsheet here. Click OK. And we're just going to do all here, choose where to start, all. And this scheduling, right? Let's just change the scheduling from every 15 minutes. Maybe we want it to be at or every day, right? So every day at the same time, we're just creating one. We're being a bit conservative here. You guys can put whatever you want. Just keep in mind rate limiting, and obviously don't overdo it here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to watch for new rows. And then when we watch for new rows, we are going to create a Twitter post, right? So we're going to create a post here. I'm just going to move this over, unlink this, and just run this once. Just want to see. So, okay, great. So this is working. I'm just going to delete this row here and see what we're working with, if it pulls up the right example here. So awesome. This looks good to me. I'm just going to cross-reference this, make sure it's the right user. Okay, sweet. So it's pulling in the right person now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add these modules together, and we're going to create this post. The text content is going to be our caption down here. And then what we can do is show advanced settings. And then with the media IDs, what we're going to do is we're going to add in this image here. And then that's essentially it. We can click save on this, and then we're going to run this. Okay, it just ran the one module only. So what we're going to do is choose where to start and choose manually. It's going to give us one result here. And we're going to click OK, and we'll run from here. And then we can see that it's posted on x.com. So if I come back here to x.com, I refresh my profile here. We have now created something new 12 seconds ago. So what's Elixir? Your go-to hub for legit online opportunities, killer digital marketing tips, passive income hacks, online biz resources, ready to boost your online income. Let's go, insert link. Obviously this is going to need to be changed, but we can just do that in the prompt here. And then we have some hashtags, and then we have this beautiful image that we just generated using AI. So the image is generated using AI. Also the description or the caption here is also generated using AI as well. Okay, sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that, and we're going to come back in here. And there's just one other thing that I want to cover today, which is how we can reshare or retweet different people's tweets. All right, so the last part of this is retweeting, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use a website called PhantomBuster. PhantomBuster is kind of like scraping online. It has a lot of different solutions that you can do. And if we come into solutions here and we filter by x.com or Twitter, you can see all the different stuff that they can do. So you can find Twitter follow collector, you can send messages. This is awesome. You can auto follow people, you can auto like, auto post, auto retweet, auto Twitter auto unfollow, Twitter follow collector, Twitter hashtag search exporter. List goes on and on and on. There's a lot of different platforms that we can log into and have various different scraping and web app uses. So pretty cool stuff. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing the Twitto. I can't believe I just said that. That's got to be the weirdest pronunciation of Twitter I've ever heard in my entire life. Anyways, maybe I'll just use that for the rest of this video. So we're going to use the Twitto auto retwitto, and that sounds so stupid. Okay, I'm going to stop now. But anyways, we're going to use this and we're going to automatically retweet the post that we just found. And it's pretty simple. So all you have to do is just sign up for an account. It's free to get started. And then in your workspaces, once you come in, you're going to essentially, you're going to browse Phantoms and you're going to find the run that you want. So in Twitter, what we can do is we can use this auto retweeter. We're going to use this Phantom here, and we're going to set this up. Now, what it's going to ask for is it's going to ask for a URL, right? And it's going to be a URL to a Google Sheet. Now, the cool thing is we've already created that Google Sheet already in this workflow. So we'll copy and we'll paste that in here, right? We can go ahead and save this, and we need to have our Twitter session cookie, right? So what we're doing is we're providing PhantomBuster access to our Twitter account, not through our login credentials, but through a cookie, right? A cookie is just like a tracking code that Twitter has on your account. And if somebody has access to that, then they can log in and they have an expiration, like that cookie is valid for a certain amount of time, it expires, gives you access to the account, right? So how we do this is we need to make sure that we have a connection to Twitter through the cookie. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm just going to delete this and reintegrate it just so I can show you guys exactly how this looks like. So, oops, that obviously didn't work here. So I need to go in and manage extensions here. And I'm just going to go ahead and delete PhantomBusters. So I'm going to remove this, remove. Okay, good. We're going to come back in here and we're going to connect to Twitter. I'm going to refresh the page because I think it thinks I have the particular Chrome extension. So we can go ahead and install that Chrome extension here, right? All we have to do is just add it to Chrome and click Add Extension, and then we're good to go. It's going to redirect us back to the page here for us to complete the setup here. Okay, so it's added to Chrome. You can see it just refreshed this page, and all we have to do now is just let it automatically do its thing. Once it loads, and we can connect to Twitter here, right? We're going to click allow, and now it has retrieved your session cookie. So good to go. You've given it access. That's all it needs. Now, number of spreadsheet rows that you want to proceed with per launch. I just want to do one, and I want to do one retweet. So we're going to start low. We want to make sure that we're not, pushing the rate limiting too far. You have advanced settings back here. Watcher mode, I wouldn't include that. And results, I also would just keep that empty, but you can change it how you want. And I would do repeatedly. Then I'd do once per day, right? You can change the frequency. You maybe 4 times a day, 6 times a day, and it's going to naturally break the day up into like 6 times or 4 or 3 and retweet at certain intervals. But just for the purposes of this, I'm going to do once a day. You can also do advanced and be like, hey, I want to do it on this minute of this hour on these days and all that kind of stuff. But this is probably the best if you're going to do it. I guess it just depends, right? I'd probably just set it to once per day, and that's a good starting point for now. Okay, sweet. So what we can do here is we can just click launch. And what this is going to do is this is automatically going to take that tweet that we found, and it's going to automatically republish that. So just give it 1 second here as it finds the tweet, successful authentication, and also in a couple seconds, it's going to retweet this post as well, and it's going to be on my profile, which I'll show you guys in a second. All right, I just seem to make one mistake here. And what we did is we didn't provide it with the correct URL. So what we want to do is we want to effectively edit the setup here. And under the spreadsheet settings, we just need to make sure that the column that the URL is coming from is from column B or URL. We can kind of take a look and see that right here, because right now it's coming from column A, right? So it's searching up tweet, and obviously that's not what we want. So we'll go ahead and click save here, save, and just save and publish this Phantom. And then we can just launch this again, and this should give us the correct result based on the tweet that we scraped in the first place. Sweet. So if we head back to Twitter and we refresh the page here, we're going to have the correct retweet on our account right here. So effectively, guys, that is how you can either retweet or you can create a tweet yourself based on web scraping from hundreds or thousands or tens or even hundreds of thousands of other tweets online, finding those viral tweets and then retweeting or creating your own content based on that. And you can also connect in the RSS feed as well. So if you don't want to just find the results from Twitter, well, you can also find it from news agencies or any feed online, right? Really, the possibilities are endless, but that's how you can have a ton of viral content. Just make sure that you really focus on the filtering to find the right content, the right niches, the right filters to find the best content possible, because really the success of something like this really comes down to how good the filtering is, right? And if you do a good job of it, you're going to find viral, high quality content every single time. If you don't do a good job, well, then you're going to get relevant and not relevant pieces of content that don't apply to your niche. So just make sure that before you start publishing things, you find the right content for you. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like this content, make sure to subscribe down below, hit the thumbs up button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.